The rain hammered my windshield like angry fists as I pulled into the parking lot of Meridian Insurance. I was already 40 minutes late to Erica's office party, but honestly, I wasn't in any hurry. These corporate gatherings were always the same: fake smiles, watered-down punch, and small talk about quarterly reports that nobody actually cared about. I sat in my beat-up Honda Civic for a moment, watching the water cascade down the glass. At 39, I was starting to feel like this car: reliable, functional, but nobody's first choice. My architectural design career had stalled somewhere between promising and adequate, and lately, even Erica seemed to view me as just another piece of furniture in our house. The office building loomed ahead, all glass and steel pretension. Through the lit windows on the third floor, I could see silhouettes moving around, probably already 3 drinks deep into whatever celebration this was supposed to be. Erica had mentioned something about Cole Dawson's promotion to regional director. Cole, the golden boy with his perfect teeth and his leased Audi A7 that he parked in the visitor's spot every day like he owned the place. I grabbed my jacket and made a run for the entrance, dodging puddles that reflected the building's harsh fluorescent lights. The elevator ride to the 3rd floor felt longer than usual, giving me time to practice my party face in the polished steel doors. Smile, nod, laugh at the right moments. Pretend I belonged in Erica's world of performance metrics and team-building exercises. The party was in full swing when I stepped off the elevator. The office had been transformed with streamers and balloons, and someone had pushed all the desks against the walls to create a makeshift dance floor. The smell of cheap wine and catered sandwiches hung in the air, mixed with too much cologne and perfume. I spotted Erica immediately. She was standing near the copy machine, animated and laughing, surrounded by her usual crowd: Jess from accounting with her bottle-blonde hair and love for office gossip, Fiona from marketing who treated every social gathering like a personal audition, and Pete, Cole's brown-nosing sidekick, who laughed at everything his boss said, whether it was funny or not. Erica looked good. Really good. She'd worn the black dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last year, the one that hugged her curves in all the right places. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a way that showed off her neck, and she was gesturing with a wine glass that was definitely not her first of the evening. I started walking toward her, weaving through clusters of coworkers who nodded politely, but didn't really see me. I was almost there when I heard Cole's voice booming from the break room. "Ladies, emergency wine refill needed in here." Erica and her group immediately migrated toward the break room, giggling like teenagers. I followed at a distance, planning to surprise her, maybe get a kiss hello and grab a drink for myself. But something made me stop, just outside the doorway. Maybe it was the tone of their laughter, too sharp, too knowing. Or maybe it was the way Cole was looking at my wife like she was dessert and he'd been dieting for months. Whatever it was, I pressed myself against the wall and listened. "So, Erica," Jess was saying, her voice already slurred, "when are you finally going to dump that husband of yours? I mean, come on, girl. You could do so much better." I felt my stomach drop, but I stayed frozen in place. "Oh, Will?" Erica's voice was light, dismissive. "Honestly, I'm basically single. He's just convenient, you know? Like having a really reliable roommate who helps with the mortgage and doesn't leave dishes in the sink." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The group erupted in laughter. Fiona nearly choked on her wine. "A convenient husband," Pete wheezed. "That's perfect. Like a convenience store, but with better health insurance." "Exactly." Erica was warming to her theme now, and I could hear the wine talking. "He's stable, he's predictable, he pays his half of everything on time. But exciting, passionate, please, I get more thrills from my morning coffee." "Well," Cole's voice was smooth, predatory, "maybe it's time you found someone who could give you a little more stimulation." More laughter. I heard the clink of glasses, probably a toast to my inadequacy. "Trust me," Erica said, and her voice dropped to what she probably thought was a whisper, but carried perfectly into the hallway. "I'm already working on that. Will's so oblivious. I could probably have an affair right under his nose, and he'd just ask if my book club was running late again." The laughter that followed felt like glass in my ears. I stood there for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds, listening to my wife of 8 years reduce our marriage to a punchline. Listening to her friends, people I'd had over for barbecues, people I'd helped move apartments, people I'd considered friends, laugh along with the joke. At least now I know, I thought. Beats finding out on Christmas. I turned and walked away, my footsteps silent on the office carpet. Nobody noticed me leaving. Why would they? I was just the convenient husband, reliable as a Honda Civic, and about as exciting as watching paint dry. The rain had gotten worse by the time I reached my car. I sat behind the wheel, engine running, windshield wipers beating a steady rhythm while I tried to process what I'd just heard. 8 years of marriage, 8 years of thinking we were building something together, even if it wasn't perfect. 8 years of being someone's safety net while they looked around for something better. My phone buzzed with a text from Erica. "Where are you? People are asking about you." I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Instead, I called my friend Mark. "Will? What's up, man? You sound weird. Can I crash at your place tonight?" "Sure, but I'll explain when I get there." I drove home through the storm, my mind surprisingly clear. The house looked different somehow when I pulled into the driveway, smaller, more ordinary, just a convenient place to sleep and store my stuff. I packed quickly. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, a few books. I left behind the wedding photos, the shared furniture, all the accumulated debris of a marriage that had apparently been over for longer than I'd realized. On the kitchen counter, I left a note written on the back of a utility bill. "You're not basically single anymore. You just are. Your convenient ex-husband." Mark lived in a converted warehouse downtown, the kind of place that looked rough from the outside but was actually pretty nice inside. He was waiting for me with a beer and a questioning look when I arrived with my hastily packed bags. "Okay," he said, settling into his worn leather couch. "Talk?" I told him everything. The party, the conversation, the laughter. Mark listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each detail. "Jesus, Will. I'm sorry, man, that's brutal." "You know what the worst part is?" I said, staring at the ceiling of his guest room later that night. "She's probably right. I have been convenient, reliable, boring. But you know what? Stability's about to become a luxury she can't afford." My phone had been buzzing constantly since I'd left the note. 17 missed calls, 43 text messages, all from Erica. I finally answered on the 18th call. "Will, thank God, where are you? We need to talk." "We just did," I said calmly. "At your party. Well, I listened. You talked about how convenient I am." Silence, then, You were there? Long enough?" "Will, I was drunk. I didn't mean—" "You meant every word. And you know what, Erica? You're absolutely right. I am convenient. But here's the thing about convenience. It only works when both people benefit from the arrangement." I hung up and turned off my phone. Outside Mark's windows, the city lights blurred through the rain like tears I wasn't going to shed. Not for her. Not anymore. Let's see how stable your world is when I'm done with it. Erica's world started cracking before the weekend was over. I knew because Mark's apartment had a perfect view of the coffee shop where she met her friends every Saturday morning, and I could see her through the window gesturing frantically while Jess and Fiona sat there looking uncomfortable. I'd blocked her number, but she'd found other ways to reach me. Emails, Facebook messages, even a handwritten letter slipped under Mark's door. All variations of the same theme. She was sorry, she was drunk, she didn't mean it, we could work this out. But I was done working things out. I was done being the reliable one, the steady one, the one who bent over backward to keep the peace. For the first time in years, I felt something other than resignation. I felt focused. Monday morning, I called in sick to work and drove to the law offices of Patterson and Associates. Janet Patterson was a friend of Mark's, a sharp-eyed divorce attorney who'd built her reputation on taking cheating spouses to the cleaners. "So," Janet said, reviewing the notes I'd given her, "your wife publicly humiliated you at her office party, admitted to planning an affair, and has been treating your marriage like a business arrangement." That's the short version. "And you want to file for divorce based on constructive abandonment and emotional cruelty." "I want to file for divorce based on the fact that she told a room full of people I was just a convenient roommate. I don't care what legal terms we use." Janet smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "I think we can do better than that. You said there were witnesses to her statements?" "At least 6 people heard her say she was basically single and planning to cheat on me." "Perfect. We'll need depositions from all of them, nothing like a little public testimony to make someone reconsider their life choices." The papers were filed by Wednesday. By Thursday, the subpoenas were served. I knew the exact moment Erica found out because my phone, I'd unblocked her number, curious to see her reaction, started ringing at 2:47 p.m. "Will, what the hell is this? A subpoena for Jess and Fiona and everyone?" "It's called evidence gathering," I said, sitting in Mark's apartment with a beer and a perfect view of the city. "Turns out, when you publicly declare your marriage is a sham, lawyers like to get that testimony on record." "You can't be serious. You're going to drag all my friends into court?" "They're not being dragged anywhere. They're being asked to tell the truth under oath about what they heard you say. Should be easy for them. They were laughing pretty hard at the time." "Will, please. This is insane. We can work this out without involving lawyers and courts and—" "You know what's insane, Erica? Spending 8 years of my life with someone who thought I was just a convenient way to pay half the mortgage. You know what else is insane? Finding out your wife's friends think you're such a joke that they're giving her advice on how to cheat on you more effectively." "I never cheated on you. Yet. You said you were working on it." The silence stretched out between us. Finally, she spoke, and her voice was smaller, more desperate. "What do you want? Money? The house? Just tell me what you want, and we can settle this." "I want you to understand something, Erica. For 8 years, I was convenient. I paid my bills, I kept my mouth shut, I didn't rock the boat. But you know what? Divorces are inconvenient. Depositions are inconvenient. Having your personal business aired out in legal documents that become part of the public record? That's really inconvenient." I hung up and immediately called Janet. "How did the subpoenas go over?" "Like a lead balloon. But here's the interesting part. I got a call from Cole Dawson's lawyer." "Cole has a lawyer?" "Apparently his wife found out about his promotion party behavior. Someone sent her screenshots of his Facebook posts from that night. Posts about helping lonely wives find excitement and being there for women who deserve better. Real classy stuff." I felt a cold satisfaction settle in my chest. "Someone sent her screenshots?" "Anonymous email account. Probably just a concerned citizen who believes in marital fidelity." "Of course. Just a concerned citizen. Definitely not a convenient ex-husband with access to Erica's Facebook account and a working knowledge of how to create anonymous email addresses." "Anyway," Janet continued, "Cole's trying to distance himself from your wife's statements, claims he barely knows her, was just being friendly at a work party. His lawyer wants to make sure he's not named in any of our filings." "That's interesting, because according to the screenshots, he was very interested in helping Erica with her marriage problems." Screenshots have a way of surfacing at the most inconvenient times. That evening, I decided to take a drive past my old house. I wasn't sure what I expected to see, but it wasn't Erica's car in the driveway next to Cole's Audi A7. I parked across the street and watched. Through the living room window, I could see them sitting on the couch I'd helped pick out, drinking wine from the glasses we'd gotten as wedding gifts. Cole had his arm around her shoulders, and she was leaning into him like he was her salvation, instead of the reason her life was falling apart. The sight should have hurt. Instead, it just made me angry. Not the hot, explosive kind of anger that makes you do stupid things, but the cold, calculating kind that makes you do effective things. I took out my phone and snapped a few pictures. Then I called the private investigator Janet had recommended. "Hi, this is Will Turner. I think I'm going to need those surveillance services we discussed." The next morning, I got a call from Jess. "Will, it's Jess. From Erica's work? Listen, I got this subpoena thing, and I was wondering if we could talk." "What about?" "Look, I feel terrible about the other night. We were all drinking, and you know how it is at office parties. People say things they don't mean." "So Erica didn't mean it when she said she was basically single?" "Well, I mean, it's complicated, right? Marriage is hard, and sometimes people need to vent." "Jess, let me ask you something. If your husband was at a party telling people you were just a convenient roommate and he was planning to cheat on you, would you consider that venting?" Silence. "The deposition is scheduled for next Tuesday," I said. "Just tell the truth. That's all anyone's asking." I hung up and immediately got another call. This time it was Pete. "Will, buddy, how's it going? Listen, I think there might be some confusion about what happened at the party." "What kind of confusion?" "Well, you know how loud it gets at these things. People mishear stuff all the time. I mean, I was pretty drunk, so I'm not even sure I remember exactly what anyone said." "That's funny, Pete, because I remember you making a joke about convenience stores. You seemed to think it was pretty hilarious at the time." "Did I? Wow, I really don't remember that. Like I said, I was pretty wasted." "Well, I'm sure it'll come back to you during your deposition. Memory has a funny way of improving when you're under oath." By the end of the week, I'd gotten similar calls from everyone who'd been in that break room. Suddenly, nobody could quite remember what Erica had said. Suddenly, everyone had been too drunk to be reliable witnesses. Suddenly, they were all very concerned about my feelings and very sorry for any misunderstanding. But it was too late for sorry. The legal machinery was already in motion, and depositions don't get canceled just because people develop convenient amnesia. I was sitting in Mark's apartment Friday night, planning my next move, when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" "You jerk." Cole's voice, tight with anger and what sounded like fear. "I'm sorry, who is this?" "You know damn well who this is. My wife got more pictures today. Pictures of me at your house. Pictures of me with Erica. Where the hell are you getting these?" "I have no idea what you're talking about, Cole. But if someone's documenting your visits to my estranged wife's house, maybe you should consider not visiting my estranged wife's house." "This is harassment." "No, this is consequences. There's a difference, though I understand why you might be confused." "You can't prove anything." "I don't have to prove anything. I just have to let the legal process run its course. Discovery's a beautiful thing, Cole. All those text messages, all those emails, all those convenient late-night work sessions. It's amazing what comes out when lawyers start digging." I could hear him breathing hard on the other end of the line. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand something. For 8 years, I was the convenient husband, reliable, predictable, easy to take advantage of. But you know what's really convenient? Having a front row seat to watch someone's life fall apart when they realize they picked the wrong person to screw over." I hung up and poured myself another beer. Outside, the city lights twinkled like stars, and for the first time in months, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Let's see who's convenient now. The depositions started the following Tuesday, and Janet had arranged for me to watch them via closed-circuit video from a conference room down the hall. It was better than cable television. Jess went first, and her convenient amnesia evaporated the moment Janet put her under oath. Turns out perjury charges have a way of sharpening people's memories. "So, Ms. Rodriguez, you testified that Mrs. Turner said she was basically single. Can you elaborate on that?" Well, she said her husband was convenient, like a roommate who helped with bills. And how did the group respond to this? We laughed. You found it amusing that Mrs. Turner was describing her marriage in these terms? I guess. At the time, yeah. Was there any discussion of Mrs. Turner pursuing relationships outside her marriage? Jess squirmed in her chair. She might have mentioned exploring her options. And Mr. Dawson was present for these conversations? Yes. How did he respond? He said maybe it was time she found someone who could give her more stimulation. Janet let that hang in the air for a moment. Stimulation, I see. And was this said in a professional context? Not really, no. Fiona's deposition was even better. She broke down crying halfway through and admitted that she'd been encouraging Erica to have an affair for months. I just thought she deserved to be happy, she sobbed. Will seemed so boring, and Cole was so charming and successful. So you advised a married woman to commit adultery because her husband seemed boring to you. When you put it like that, it sounds terrible. Ms. Chen, I'm not putting it any way. I'm simply asking you to describe your own actions. But the real entertainment came when they deposed Cole. He showed up with his lawyer, a nervous little man who kept objecting to questions that weren't even objectionable. Cole had cleaned up his act since our phone conversation. Gone was the cocky executive who'd been hitting on my wife at office parties. In his place was a sweating, stammering man who claimed he barely knew Erica and had certainly never encouraged her to leave her marriage. Mr. Dawson, I'm showing you Exhibit A, which is a screenshot of your Facebook post from the night of the promotion party. You wrote, and I quote, "Some women deserve so much better than what they settled for. Lucky for them, better is available." Can you explain this post? It was just general relationship advice, like a motivational quote. Motivational advice about leaving one's spouse? No, I mean, not specifically. It was just, general life stuff. I see. And Exhibit B, a text message you sent to Mrs. Turner 3 days after the party, saying, "Your husband doesn't deserve you. When you're ready for a real man, you know where to find me." Was this also general life advice? Cole's lawyer objected, but the damage was done. The text was already part of the record, obtained through the private investigator's completely legal surveillance of my estranged wife's activities. Mr. Dawson, are you currently married? Yes, but... And were you married when you sent this text message to Mrs. Turner? Yes. So you were encouraging a married woman to leave her husband while you yourself were married to someone else? It wasn't like that. How was it exactly? Cole looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. I was just being friendly. Is this how you're friendly with all your married female employees, Mr. Dawson? That's when his lawyer called for a recess. I was feeling pretty good about things until Janet came into my conference room with a grim expression. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Erica's hired Mitchell and Associates, big guns. They're claiming you've been stalking her and Cole, harassing witnesses, and trying to sabotage her employment. That's ridiculous. I haven't stalked anyone. Can you prove that? I thought about the private investigator, the anonymous emails, the convenient timing of certain photographs. Define stalking. Will, I need you to be straight with me. Have you been following your wife? Taking pictures? Sending anonymous messages to anyone? I hired a private investigator to document her activities. That's completely legal in a divorce proceeding. What about the anonymous emails to Cole's wife? What anonymous emails? Janet stared at me for a long moment. The ones with screenshots of Cole's social media posts and photos of him entering and leaving your marital home. I have no knowledge of any anonymous emails. Will. Janet, I'm paying you to represent me in a divorce proceeding. I hired a private investigator to gather evidence of my wife's adultery. Everything I've done has been legal and appropriate. She sighed. Okay, but they're going to paint you as the vindictive ex-husband who's trying to destroy your wife's life out of spite. Good. Let them. Because that's exactly what I'm doing. The look she gave me was equal parts admiration and concern. Just be careful. There's a line between aggressive divorce tactics and criminal harassment. Don't cross it. I won't. But even as I said it, I was already planning my next move. That evening, I drove to Cole's neighborhood. Not to stalk him, I had professionals for that now, but to get a feel for his world. He lived in one of those suburban developments where all the houses looked the same and the lawns were maintained by professional services. His Audi was in the driveway next to a Honda minivan that probably belonged to his wife. I parked across the street and watched the house. Through the windows, I could see the warm glow of domestic life. A woman moving around in the kitchen. Kids' toys scattered on the front lawn. A life that Cole was willing to throw away for a chance to play with my wife. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop this, please. We can work something out." E. She'd gotten a new number. Probably figured I'd blocked her old one, which I had. I typed back, "We are working something out. It's called divorce court. You're destroying innocent people. Cole's wife, his kids. They don't deserve this." "You're right. They don't. They deserve to know what kind of man they're married to. I never slept with him. Yet. You were working on it, remember?" My phone rang immediately. The new number. "Will, please, just talk to me, face to face, 10 minutes. "Where?" "The coffee shop on 5th Street, the one where we had our first date." I almost laughed. She was trying to manipulate me with nostalgia, appealing to whatever romantic feelings I might still have for her. What she didn't understand was that those feelings had died in that break room when she'd reduced our marriage to a punchline. Fine, 20 minutes. The coffee shop looked exactly the same as it had 9 years ago. Same mismatched furniture, same indie music playing softly in the background, same smell of espresso and fresh pastries. Erica was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with her hands wrapped around a mug like she was trying to warm herself. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her eyes were red from crying, and she'd lost weight in a way that made her look fragile rather than attractive. This wasn't the confident woman who'd been holding court at the office party. This was someone who was finally beginning to understand the consequences of her choices. "Thank you for coming," she said as I sat down across from her. "You have 10 minutes. Will, I know you're angry. I know I hurt you. But this has gone too far. Cole's wife threw him out. His kids won't talk to him. He's sleeping in his office. That sounds like a Cole problem. And my friends won't talk to me. Everyone at work thinks I'm some kind of marriage-wrecking slut. I might lose my job. That sounds like an Erica problem." Her eyes filled with tears. "When did you become so cruel?" "About 10 seconds after I heard you tell a room full of people that I was just a convenient roommate. Funny how that works." "I was drunk. I was showing off. I didn't mean any of it." "Which part didn't you mean? The part where you said you were basically single? The part where you said I was boring and predictable? Or the part where you said you were already working on having an affair?" She flinched at each question like I was slapping her. "I love you, Will. I know I screwed up, but I love you. We can fix this." "No, we can't." "You know why? Because love isn't something you turn on and off when it's convenient. Love isn't something you laugh about with your friends when you think your husband isn't listening. Love sure as hell isn't something you throw away because you're bored and someone more exciting comes along." "So what? You're just going to destroy my entire life, everything I've worked for?" I leaned back in my chair and studied her face. She was still beautiful, even with the tears and the desperation. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "Erica, for 8 years I loved you. I supported you. I was faithful to you. I was exactly the kind of husband that most women would kill for. And you know what you did with that? You turned it into a joke. You made me into a punchline for your friends' entertainment. I'm sorry. I know you are. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry there are consequences. You're sorry your convenient little arrangement blew up in your face. But you're not sorry for what you did. You're not sorry for how you made me feel. You're just sorry it's inconvenient. I stood up to leave. Will, wait. What do you want? Just tell me what you want, and I'll do it. I looked down at her, this woman I'd once thought I'd spend the rest of my life with, and felt nothing but contempt. I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I want you to know what it feels like to have your life turned upside down by someone you trusted. I want you to experience the same humiliation you put me through, except instead of a break room full of drunk coworkers, you get to do it in a courtroom full of lawyers and court reporters. You're not the man I married. You're right. The man you married was convenient. I'm not convenient anymore. I walked out of the coffee shop and didn't look back, but I could feel her watching me through the window as I got in my car and drove away. The war was just getting started. The next phase of my campaign began at 6 a.m. on a Wednesday morning with a phone call from Janet. Will, we have a situation. Erica's lawyers filed a motion for a restraining order. They're claiming you've been stalking her and interfering with her employment. I was making coffee in Mark's kitchen, watching the sunrise paint the city in shades of gold and orange. On what grounds? They have photos of your car parked outside her workplace, testimony from coworkers saying you've been calling them about their depositions. And they're claiming the anonymous emails to Cole's wife constitute harassment. Can they prove I sent those emails? That's not the point. They don't have to prove it. They just have to convince a judge that you're a threat to your estranged wife's safety and well-being. I sipped my coffee and considered this development. It was actually kind of impressive. Erica was finally learning to play hardball. Too bad she was about 3 moves behind. When's the hearing? Friday morning. Will, I need to ask you again, have you been following her, taking pictures? Because if you have, we need to get ahead of this. I told you I hired a private investigator. Everything he's done has been legal. What about the phone calls to witnesses? I returned calls from people who contacted me. That's not harassment, that's conversation. And the emails? What emails? Janet sighed. Okay, we'll deal with this on Friday. But Will, I'm serious. No more contact with anyone connected to this case. No phone calls, no emails, no driving by anyone's house or workplace. Let the professionals handle it from here. Understood. But I was already planning my next move, and it didn't involve any of the things Janet had just told me not to do. That afternoon, I made a call to my old college roommate Danny, who worked in IT security for a major corporation. Will, long time no talk. How's married life treating you? Actually, that's why I'm calling. I'm going through a divorce and I need some advice about social media and digital privacy. Oof, sorry man, what kind of advice? Hypothetically, if someone wanted to make sure certain information was preserved before it got deleted, what would be the best way to do that? Are we talking about your own social media accounts or someone else's? Let's say someone else's. Someone who might be motivated to clean up their online presence before lawyers get involved. Danny was quiet for a moment. Will, I can't help you hack into anyone's accounts, that's illegal. I'm not asking you to hack anything. I'm asking about preservation of evidence. What if someone had legitimate access to these accounts? Like shared passwords? Like shared passwords. Well, in that case, you'd want to take screenshots of everything before the account holder realizes you have access. Posts, messages, photos, the works. But Will, even if you have legitimate access, using it during divorce proceedings is a gray area legally. What if the information was already public, social media posts, things like that? Public posts are fair game. Anyone can screenshot public content. And if someone wanted to make sure that information was preserved even if the original posts got deleted? Screenshots, archives, cached pages. But you'd want to make sure you could prove when and where you got the information. After I hung up with Danny, I spent the evening going through every social media account Erica and I had shared access to over the years. She'd never changed the passwords on most of them. probably because she'd never imagined I'd have reason to look. What I found was better than I'd hoped. Months of flirty exchanges with Cole, photos of them at work events where they were standing just a little too close, comments on other people's posts about deserving better and life being too short to settle. A whole digital trail of a woman who'd been planning her exit strategy for a lot longer than I'd realized. But the real gold mine was her private messages with her friends, conversations where she'd complained about our marriage, made fun of my career, and discussed her growing attraction to Cole in explicit detail. Messages where Jess and Fiona had encouraged her to go for it and see what happens. I spent 3 hours taking screenshots and saving everything to multiple backup drives. By the time I was done, I had enough evidence to bury her in court and destroy whatever remained of her professional reputation. The restraining order hearing on Friday was almost anticlimactic. Erica showed up with her lawyer, a sharp-dressed woman who looked like she ate divorce settlements for breakfast. They presented their evidence, photos of my car, testimony about phone calls, speculation about anonymous emails. Janet countered with my employment records, showing I'd been at work during most of the alleged stalking incidents, phone logs proving the calls had been initiated by the other parties, and a statement from my private investigator detailing his completely legal surveillance activities. The judge, a tired-looking man in his 60s, listened to both sides with obvious boredom. "Mr. Turner, have you had any direct contact with your estranged wife outside of legal proceedings?" "One meeting at her request, Your Honor, in a public place." "Have you threatened her or Mr. Dawson in any way?" "No, Your Honor." "Have you contacted her workplace or attempted to interfere with her employment?" "No, Your Honor." He turned to Erica's lawyer. "Counselor, do you have any evidence of actual threats or harassment beyond circumstantial observations and speculation?" "Your Honor, the pattern of behavior clearly indicates—" "That's a no then. Motion denied. Mr. Turner, you're free to continue your legal proceedings, but I'd advise you to keep your distance from your estranged wife outside of court-supervised interactions." "Understood, Your Honor." As we left the courthouse, Erica tried to approach me, but Janet intercepted her. "Mrs. Turner, please direct all communication through your attorney." "I just want to talk to him." "That's not going to happen." I walked past her without a word, but I could feel her desperation radiating like heat. She was starting to understand that this wasn't going to be the kind of divorce where we split everything 50-50 and remained friends. This was going to be the kind of divorce that left scars. That weekend, I decided it was time to escalate. I created a new email account and spent Saturday afternoon crafting a message to the HR department at Meridian Insurance. I included screenshots of Cole's social media posts about helping lonely wives find stimulation, copies of his text messages to Erica, and photos of him entering and leaving my house during work hours. The subject line was simple: potential workplace harassment issue. I didn't sign it. I didn't need to. The evidence spoke for itself. Monday morning, I got a call from my private investigator. "Will, something's happening at your wife's office. Security escorted Cole out of the building about an hour ago. Looked like he was carrying a box of personal items." "Interesting. And there's something else. Your wife got called into HR this morning. She's been in there for 2 hours. Keep me posted." By Tuesday, the story was all over social media. Meridian Insurance had fired Cole Dawson for inappropriate workplace conduct and launched an investigation into potential violations of company harassment policies. Erica had been suspended pending the outcome of their internal review. I felt a cold satisfaction settle in my chest. For 8 years, I'd been the convenient husband, reliable, predictable, easy to take advantage of. But it turns out I was also patient, methodical, and very, very thorough when I set my mind to something. My phone rang. Erica's new number. "You destroyed him," she said without preamble. "Cole lost everything: his job, his marriage, his kids. Are you happy now?" "I didn't destroy anything. I just made sure the right people had the right information at the right time. His wife won't let him see his children. Maybe he should have thought about that before he decided to pursue a married woman. And now they're investigating me. They think I was having an affair with my supervisor. They're going to fire me too. Were you having an affair with your supervisor? Silence. Erica, you told a room full of people that you were basically single and planning to cheat on me. You exchanged inappropriate messages with a married coworker. You brought him to our house while I was staying somewhere else. What exactly did you think was going to happen? I thought we could work this out quietly, like adults. Adults don't humiliate their spouses at office parties. Adults don't plan affairs while their husbands are paying half the mortgage. Adults take responsibility for their actions instead of blaming other people when there are consequences. What do you want from me? I want you to understand that I'm not convenient anymore. I'm inconvenient. Very, very inconvenient. I hung up and poured myself a drink. Outside Mark's windows, the city was settling into evening, lights twinkling like stars in the gathering darkness. Tomorrow, I'd find out if Erica still had a job. If she didn't, she'd have to figure out how to pay the mortgage on our house by herself. She'd have to explain to her family and friends why her marriage had fallen apart so spectacularly. She'd have to live with the knowledge that everyone she worked with knew the intimate details of her personal life. She'd have to experience exactly what I'd experienced, except amplified and broadcast to everyone she cared about. The war was almost over, but I wasn't done yet. Erica lost her job on Thursday. The news came through my private investigator, who'd been monitoring the situation at Meridian Insurance with professional interest. The company had concluded their investigation and determined that both Erica and Cole had violated workplace conduct policies. Cole was already gone, and now Erica was officially terminated for inappropriate relationships with supervisory personnel and conduct detrimental to workplace morale. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt empty. 8 years of marriage, reduced to a corporate HR file and a termination notice. It seemed too clinical, too impersonal for the destruction of a life I'd once been part of. But that feeling didn't last long. Friday afternoon, my phone rang. Mark's number. Will, you need to get home, now. What's wrong? Erica's here, at my apartment. She's not doing well, man. I found her sitting in Mark's living room, clutching a cup of coffee with shaking hands. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was greasy, her clothes were wrinkled, and her eyes had the hollow look of someone who'd finally hit bottom. Hello, Will. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Mark looked uncomfortable. I'm going to go grab some groceries. Give you two some privacy. After he left, we sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, Erica spoke. They fired me. I heard. I can't make the mortgage payments on my own. I'm going to lose the house. You could get another job. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Who's going to hire me? Everyone in the industry knows what happened. They think I'm some kind of predator who seduces married supervisors. Aren't you? The question hung in the air between us like a physical thing. I never slept with him, Will. I swear to God, I never actually slept with him. But you wanted to. Yes. The word came out as a sob. Yes, I wanted to. I was bored and lonely, and he made me feel exciting again, but I never actually did anything. You did everything except the physical act. You emotionally cheated. You planned to physically cheat. You humiliated me in public, and you brought him to our house. The only reason you didn't sleep with him is because you didn't have time before everything fell apart. She was crying now, ugly tears that made her mascara run down her cheeks. I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you. But Will, please, you have to stop this. I have nothing left. No job, no friends, no money. My own family won't talk to me because they heard about the divorce and think I'm some kind of marriage wrecker. You are a marriage wrecker. You wrecked ours. So what? You're going to keep destroying my life until there's nothing left? I studied her face, this woman I'd once loved enough to promise my life to. She looked genuinely broken, genuinely sorry. For a moment, I felt something that might have been pity. Then I remembered the laughter in that break room, the casual cruelty of her words, the way her friends had joined in making me into a joke. Erica, do you remember what you said to me at the coffee shop? You asked when I became so cruel. She nodded. I became cruel the moment I realized that the woman I'd spent 8 years loving had been laughing at me behind my back. I became cruel when I understood that you saw me as nothing more than a convenient way to pay bills while you looked for something better. I'm sorry. I know you are, but sorry doesn't undo 8 years of being taken for granted. Sorry doesn't erase the humiliation of hearing your wife tell her friends that you're boring and predictable and easily replaced. So, what do you want? You want me to suffer forever? I thought about that question. What did I want? I'd already gotten my revenge. Her career was destroyed, her reputation was in ruins, her affair partner was disgraced, and she was facing financial ruin. By any measure, I'd won. But winning didn't feel like I'd thought it would. I want you to understand something, I said finally. For 8 years, I was a good husband to you. Not perfect, maybe not exciting, but faithful and supportive and reliable. And you threw that away because you were bored. I know. Do you? Because I don't think you do. I think you understand that there are consequences to your actions, but I don't think you understand the actual damage you did. I leaned forward, looking directly into her eyes. You didn't just cheat on me, Erica. You made me doubt everything about myself. You made me question whether I was worth loving, whether I was interesting enough, whether I was man enough. You took 8 years of my life and made me feel like they were wasted on someone who didn't value them. That wasn't what I meant to do. But it's what you did. And now you want me to stop the consequences because you're suffering. But you know what? I suffered too. I suffered in silence while you were planning your exit strategy. I suffered in humiliation while your friends laughed at me. I suffered in betrayal while you brought another man to our house. She was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. Please, Will, I'll do anything. I'll sign whatever divorce papers you want. I'll give you the house, the car, everything. Just please stop destroying my life. I'm not destroying your life, Erica. Your life is being destroyed by the natural consequences of your own choices. I'm just making sure those consequences are thorough and complete. I stood up to leave. Will, wait. There's something else. I turned back. I'm pregnant. The words hit me like a physical blow. I sat back down, hard. What? I'm pregnant. About 6 weeks. My mind raced, calculating dates. 6 weeks ago, we'd still been living together. Before the party, before the divorce, before everything fell apart. Is it mine? Yes. She was crying harder now. I know the timing is terrible, and I know you hate me. But it's yours. I haven't been with anyone else. I stared at her, trying to process this information. A baby. Our baby. In the middle of this war we'd been fighting, there was going to be a child. Are you sure? I took 3 tests. They're all positive. I felt something crack inside my chest. Not my heart. That had been broken weeks ago. Something deeper, something fundamental about who I thought I was and what I was doing. Why are you telling me this now? Because I don't know what else to do. I can't raise a baby with no job, no money, no support system. And I can't get rid of it. I know that makes me selfish, but I can't. We sat in silence for a long time. Outside, the city hummed with life, people going about their normal days without any idea that my world had just shifted on its axis again. What do you want from me? I asked finally. I want us to try to work this out, not the marriage, I know that's over, but this, the baby. I want us to figure out how to be parents together, even if we can't be husband and wife. And you think that's possible? After everything that's happened? I don't know, but I have to try. This baby didn't ask to be born into the middle of our war. She was right about that. Whatever else had happened between us, whatever damage we'd done to each other, there was going to be an innocent child who needed both of us to be better than we'd been. I thought about the man I'd become over the past few weeks. The calculating, vengeful person who'd systematically destroyed his wife's life. Was that the kind of father I wanted to be? I need time to think about this. Okay. And I need proof. Doctor's appointment, blood test, the works. Of course. I stood up again, and this time she didn't try to stop me. Erica, this doesn't change what happened between us. It doesn't erase the divorce or make us friends again. But if you're really pregnant, if it's really my child, then we're going to have to figure out how to coexist. I understand. And no more games, no more manipulation, no more lies or half-truths or convenient omissions. If we're going to do this, we do it honestly. Yes. I walked toward the door, then stopped. One more thing. The baby doesn't make you a victim, and it doesn't make me the villain. We both made choices that led us here. The only difference is that now we have to live with the consequences together. I left her sitting in Mark's living room and drove aimlessly through the city, trying to make sense of this new reality. A baby. In 9 months, I was going to be a father. With a woman I'd spent the last month trying to destroy. The war wasn't over, but the rules had just changed completely, and I had no idea what came next. The pregnancy test came back positive. So did the paternity blood work, though we had to wait until Erica was further along for that. By the time all the medical confirmations were complete, she was 3 months pregnant and showing. I'd moved back into our house, my house now according to the divorce settlement, but we lived like polite strangers. Separate bedrooms, separate schedules, minimal conversation beyond the logistics of coexistence and prenatal appointments. The divorce was finalized on a cold Tuesday morning in February. We sat in the courthouse conference room with our lawyers, signing papers that officially ended our marriage and began our complicated future as co-parents. Erica got supervised visitation rights and a minimal support arrangement. I got everything else: the house, the cars, the savings accounts, and primary custody of our unborn child. Congratulations, Janet said as we left the courthouse. You got everything you wanted. But I wasn't sure that was true anymore. Erica had found a part-time job at a small marketing firm, barely making enough to cover her basic expenses. She was living in a studio apartment across town, the kind of place college students rented when they couldn't afford anything better. Her friends had abandoned her completely after the scandal, and her family maintained a chilly distance that made it clear they blamed her for the destruction of our marriage. She was, by any objective measure, thoroughly defeated. Her career was ruined, her reputation was destroyed, her social life was non-existent, and her financial future was precarious. I'd accomplished everything I'd set out to do when this war began. So why did I feel so empty? The answer came to me on a Thursday evening in March, when I found Erica sitting in the living room, crying over a stack of medical bills. I can't afford the prenatal vitamins, she said without looking up. The good ones, I mean. The ones the doctor recommended. I can get the generic ones at the drugstore, but they don't have all the same nutrients. I stared at her, this woman who'd once made 6 figures and drove a new car, now worried about affording vitamins for our baby. I'll pay for them. You don't have to. It's not your responsibility. It's my child. I know, but the divorce agreement says, forget the divorce agreement. That night, I lay awake thinking about the man I'd become. For months, I'd told myself that I was fighting for justice, for dignity, for the principle that actions have consequences. But somewhere along the way, justice had turned into revenge, and revenge had turned into cruelty. I'd won the war, but I wasn't sure I recognized the person who'd won it. The next morning, I called Janet. I want to modify the divorce agreement. What kind of modification? Financial support. I want to increase Erica's monthly payments and cover her medical expenses during the pregnancy. Will, that's very generous, but you don't have any legal obligation? I don't care about legal obligations. I care about making sure my child is healthy. Okay, I'll draft the paperwork. When I told Erica about the modification, she stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Why? Because you're carrying my child, and I want you both to be healthy. This doesn't change anything between us. I know. I'm still not going to forgive you for what you did to my career. I'm not asking you to. And I'm still not going to apologize for what I said at that party. I'm not asking you to do that either. She studied my face, looking for some angle, some manipulation. But there wasn't one. I was just tired of being angry all the time. So what happens now? She asked. Now we figure out how to be good parents, together. You think that's possible? I think we have to try. The baby was born on a humid Tuesday morning in August. A girl, 7 pounds and 3 ounces, with Erica's eyes and my stubborn chin. We named her Emma after Erica's grandmother. Holding my daughter for the first time, I felt something I hadn't experienced in over a year. Pure, uncomplicated joy. She was perfect, innocent, untouched by the war her parents had fought. In her tiny face, I saw a future that wasn't defined by revenge or resentment. She's beautiful, Erica whispered from her hospital bed. She is. I was scared you wouldn't love her, because of everything that happened between us. I looked at her, this woman who'd betrayed me, humiliated me, and nearly destroyed my faith in love itself. She was right to be scared. For months, I'd been so consumed with hurting her that I'd almost forgotten we were creating a life together. She's not responsible for what we did to each other, I said finally. She deserves better from both of us. Does this mean we can try to be friends, for her sake? I thought about that question. Could we be friends? Could I ever trust her again? Could she ever forgive me for the systematic destruction of her life? I don't know if we can be friends, I said honestly. But we can be good parents. We can put Emma first and figure out the rest as we go. That's enough for now. Yeah, that's enough. 6 months later, I was sitting in my living room, watching Erica read a bedtime story to Emma, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Will, it's Cole. I hadn't heard from him since the divorce was finalized. Last I'd heard, he was living in another state, working for a small insurance company that didn't do background checks very thoroughly. What do you want, Cole? I wanted to apologize for what I did to your marriage, for what I did to my own marriage, for all of it. Okay. I heard you and Erica had a baby. Congratulations. Thank you. Look, I know this is probably pointless, but I wanted you to know that I never meant for things to go as far as they did. I was going through a rough patch with my wife, and Erica was available, but I never meant to destroy anyone's life. But you did. Yeah, I did, and I'm sorry. I watched Erica tuck Emma into her crib, her voice soft as she sang a lullaby I remembered from my own childhood. Cole, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you think we're bad people? You and me and Erica? Do you think we're just fundamentally damaged? Or do you think good people can do terrible things to each other? He was quiet for a long time. I think we're all capable of being monsters under the right circumstances, but I also think we're capable of being better than our worst moments. Yeah, maybe. Will, I know I don't have any right to ask this, but are you happy? You won, right? You got everything you wanted. Are you happy? I looked around my house now, paid for with the ruins of my marriage. I thought about my destroyed wife living in a studio apartment, working a job that barely paid her bills. I thought about Cole, exiled to another state, probably never seeing his kids. I thought about all the collateral damage from our little war. No, I said finally. I'm not happy, but I'm not miserable either. I'm just different. Different how? I used to think I was a good person who'd been wronged. Now I know I'm a person who's capable of both good and terrible things, depending on the circumstances. It's not a comfortable realization, but it's probably more honest. Yeah, I get that. After I hung up, I sat in the quiet house, listening to the sounds of my daughter sleeping and my ex-wife cleaning up in the kitchen. This wasn't the life I'd planned. It wasn't the happy ending I'd dreamed of when I'd first fallen in love with Erica all those years ago. But it was real. It was honest. And maybe, eventually, it would be enough. Erica appeared in the doorway, car keys in her hand. I'm heading home. Emma's fed and changed. She should sleep through the night. Okay, same time tomorrow? Same time tomorrow. She paused at the door. Will? Yeah? Thank you for letting me be part of this. I know I don't deserve it. You're her mother. She needs you. Still, thank you. After she left, I poured myself a drink and sat back down in my chair. Outside, the city hummed with life. People falling in love, people falling apart, people making the same mistakes we'd all made and learning the same hard lessons. I'd won the war. I'd gotten my revenge. I'd proven that the quiet, convenient husband was capable of being ruthless when pushed too far. But victory, it turned out, was more complicated than I'd expected. It tasted like ashes and felt like emptiness. It came with a price that couldn't be calculated in dollars or measured in destroyed careers. The real victory, I was beginning to understand, wasn't in the destruction I'd caused. It was in the choice I made every day to be a better father than I'd been a husband. It was in the decision to put Emma's needs ahead of my own anger. It was in the slow, difficult work of building something new from the wreckage of what we'd destroyed. I finished my drink and went upstairs to check on my daughter. She was sleeping peacefully, one tiny fist curled against her cheek, completely unaware of the complicated world she'd been born into. I'm going to do better, I whispered to her. We all are. And for the first time in over a year, I actually believed it might be true.